Hi, welcome to a Roboflow training movie. In this training movie, I will show you how a workflow can push values from a record to a table item. I have here two copies of the same workflow with just different parameters. Imagine that you have a record fields in your catalog and you want to push each time these record fields to a table. I have here a field called hersteller and I have here a field called keywords with a value, and each time this has a value I want to push this to a table field. To do that the workflow needs a simple query looking for if that field has a value. You can in that case also maybe involve a field like status is update. That means that you're telling them that now is the time to do this, or you could say status is new or whatever. Important is that you construct these queries in the client because every catalog has different field values, field names, and the fields you can construct them here, and then if you go to the advanced mode you will see that it will automatically have built it for you, and that is what you can simply cut and paste to your field. Then this workflow allows you to set up a table query. But if we are just pushing to a new record table item, we don't specify a table query. And then you can specify which fields to push. So you specify record field this, record field that. So here I'm going to push hersteller to the table field hersteller, and something that I find in the keywords field to the article number. When this is processed, I have to tell it to which table. Product zur Ordnung, and then I can also, after it has been processed, I could maybe clear the values that I picked up. So I can optionally say the status is now done and the hersteller is set to no value, to null. So let's see this workflow at work. I simply start the workflow and we give it a second, and then we do show log, and as a result we see that it has found that one record, and it gives you some debug information because we have that enabled in the workflow, and it is first of all finding that table item, and it is setting the value Tom, and it's picking up the article number from the keywords field, and it's setting it to 1, 2, 3. So in this table there will now be a new entry with Tom added. Now imagine that you have in this table somewhere a value that you want to update. So imagine in this example that you want to say, okay, I don't have a hersteller here in this table. Well, you can also push, of course, that. Imagine that I want to select here Stefan for this case. And then we will go to the second workflow. The second workflow is exactly the same workflow, but just with some fine-tuned parameters. First of all, this query looks if the hersteller field has a value. It looks if the hersteller, if the article number in the table field has a value, and then if the hersteller field is empty. Then when that is the case, then I'm going to open that table field which we specified here, and I'm going to perform a query looking for that specific hersteller that has no value. Again, I'm going to push the values, but in this case I'm only pushing this value, the hersteller. As an example, you could push more fields, of course. And after the push, I'm just going to initialize the hersteller field to nothing, making sure that it doesn't process it again. So Same workflow, same logic, only now it has, it's going to not add a record, but update. So let's check our values. I have Hersteller, which is set, and this one is empty. So we are expecting it to update this particular record with Stefan. So here we go, start. And if we have a look in the record, we can see that this is nicely empty now, and this is set to Stefan. You can also decide not to empty this. There's not mandatory to empty that field. It's just as an example that you can see that you can have a process push information to the table and then initialize the values in your catalog. It found one record, it found table item 2, and it sets the Hersteller field to Stefan. Then it post-processes the record, where it sets the Hersteller field of the record to null. A quick technical look behind the scenes, how this is done. Well, first of all, in the workflow, I start, when the workflow starts, by picking up those two parameter files, storing them in table fields, in tables that, not table fields, in tables that I can process. I prefix the table name with global because I'm only reading them for the first record to be processed and then keeping them in memory. I open the table field that I defined, and then I'm picking up the local query. Why am I picking up the local query? Because I want to know if the query is empty, I have to create a new record table item, and then I'm setting the query to only pick up that specific item. And so then I come to processing the items of that table, and it does that with the predefined query. So either it's a search to update one, or it's a new one with the query that will find that record with that specific ID. I'm storing the item ID just for information, and then I'm processing the rows of my table, of this particular table field here, a little bit lower here, where I'm going to push, which tells me which fields I want to pick up. I'm picking up the value of it, and I call this row, and I'm picking up element 1 of the row as the value and element 2 as the name, and then finally testing if it's not empty. If there's an empty line, I cannot set anything, and I don't want any errors in my logging. So I'm setting the record field table value by picking up, by picking up the name and the value, and I'm setting it to the table item record. When this process is done, I'm post-processing the table of the record fields that I want to initialize after this process. So I'm table records, and I'm picking up from that table again the values, the name of the field set, testing if it's not empty, and then I'm setting the record field value again by picking up those things. And not to forget, at the end of the process, I'm closing the table field. So this was a quick example of how you can push information from your Cumulus record fields to table fields. Remember to construct these queries, go to the Cumulus client and do it with the advanced search interface so that you don't make any mistakes in terms of these GUIDs. The syntax is a little bit complicated. So thank you for joining this training movie, and hope to see you on the next one.